Hey everyone, this is Jay and this is the AOKZOE A1 Windows Gaming Handheld. This has the Ryzen 7 6800U and this is the quantum blue color, nice yellow and navy blue accents here as well as the RGB colors on the sides. But you were looking at my band-aid, weren't you? Yes, I got a cut. We are going to crack this open and I'm going to change the nvme SSD as well as reinstall Windows from scratch, reinstall all the drivers from the AOKZOE drivers pack, including audio, and I know some people are having issues with that, and get everything up and running, including the AOKZOE app. This is actually new, and it's running 0.3.16 uh, player center version. So we're going to bring that up to 0.4.5 as well. We are gonna open this on the back, and just to show you something real quick, I used a heat gun to sort of peel off this warranty sticker, and just a little bit of heat and a small flathead screwdriver will pop it off. And let's get going. All right, so here are the tools that we'll need. First and foremost, make sure your A1 has been shut down. You'll need a prying tool. I actually only used the guitar pick one. It's very easy to use. And of course, you'll need a replacement SSD. This is an M.2 NVMe SSD, 2 terabytes by 11. This already has a heatsink applied on it. If you get one that's a bare drive, make sure you buy one of those really thin copper heat sinks to place on there with a thermal pad. And precision screwdriver, this is a size 2 Phillips head. Same thing with this one, it actually came together. We'll need this one later on because it's the longer version and there's a couple of holes where this one won't fit. This one is not necessary, USB-C hub with a mouse, but it'll make things a lot faster. All right, as I said earlier, I used a little bit of heat to peel this off. I just used a flathead while blowing some heat onto it. You can use a heat gun or a hair dryer. And there are 8 screws back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These two, we will need the longer one. Actually, maybe these 3 as well. We'll see. Let me place onto here so that I can organize them, and I can just place them all back in order. And this is a magnetic tip, which helps because really don't want to be digging in there for the tiny screws. Three, and let's check. Yep, it won't fit in there, so I'll use this long one. Push down, firm grip, and this one's not magnetic, but I'm trying to loosen this, and I can just fish it out with this one. All right, we got all 8 screws out, and now we're gonna pry this open. So a good way to do it is just start right here and just use one of these, slip it in the crack and just slide it out. I'll start on this side. See that? It'll just pop open. Just do it very slowly and don't yank it off. Just do some controlled pulls and it'll come off like that. Check for damages, no damages. Everything's intact, all good. Okay, so here is the internals. It's our nice fan here. This has to come off first, and then we'll get to the NVMe, which is right under here. I would say get rid of static electricity by touching metal or something that's metal. If you really want to, you can get one of those anti-static wristbands. I'll be doing this on my own at my own risk, so please know that you will be doing that at your own risk when you do this. All right, so start with the fan. This has 3 screws. One, 2, third one right here. Of course, I'm blocking it. And third one's right there. And this tape has to come off. You don't have to fully take it off, just sort of lift it up. So that the fan is released. So here's the fan. Remember the orientation. We'll peel it off right here and just place it aside for now. This has to come off. This tape also comes off. Controlled pulls, don't just yank them off. Place that for now, there for now. Okay, this metal housing has to come off as well, but of course the LAN card here, or wireless LAN card here, has to come off first. So peel that off. Screw here. This one is really on there tight, so controlled strength. There we go. It's gonna go there. I'm just gonna peel it off. I feel like they did this so they know that you opened it. See, the yellow part's coming off. Should have done it on the metal one, but too late. You learned from my lesson. So this, lift it up from here. Just place it aside for now. You don't need to disconnect it or anything. And then lift this one up. Get rid of that screw. Put it right here. There's another one right here. That one won't come off. It's gonna stay on there, but it's loose. This one will come off. It's actually gonna bring this little bracket with it. It's holding the this thing that's pinning down the housing. And last one right here. Or last one's up here. There's one down here. So once you hear those clicks, that means it's off. There's the click. And we're going to lift this up. So here we go. Make sure the thermal pad stays on there. I'm just going to place this aside. And finally, there's our NVMe. So I'm gonna take this and there's even tape on here. Do you see that? Slide this off, and they put a really thin piece of copper to cool this. And this is only a 512 gigabyte NVMe. So let me grab my new one, brand new, and this one's a bit thicker, as you can see, but it'll be just fine. And I like the heatsink they used here. So slide it in, make sure it clicks, push it down and rescrew. And then the housing, place it back. And there's enough space for the wireless LAN card to actually connect again, so don't worry about the height of the heatsink. So screw this in. One, two, three. Then the bracket to hold this together. Put it back. Make sure it's firm. Close that up. Bring back our wireless card. Make sure it clicks. Hopefully you have steadier hands than mine. Here's the tape that I destroyed. And put this back. Maybe I should have put this back before, but let me see if I don't want to break it. There we go. Okay, we're getting there. And then put this tape back. Right there. The wire in. And it's this way. Make sure we're not crushing any wires here. There we go. You can align the screw holes and just put the tape down. There you go. The NVMe is now installed. I'm going to put this back on here, but I'm not going to screw it yet. I just don't want the back to be exposed while we're installing Windows. And you can crack this back together. Alright, so we are done installing the NVMe. I'm going to place the charger in, and before I turn this on, I'm going to plug in our USB-C hub, and this is actually a mouse and keyboard combo that'll help us speed up this next part. And of course, the Windows boot drive, plug that up here, turn on the A1, and since there's no Windows installation on the drive, it'll most likely ask us which of these we want to boot from, and it'll only find the Windows boot drive up here. And there it is. A1 is a portrait screen, so everything from here on out is going to be flipped to the side. Alright, so I have to flip this to the side because that is the orientation of this screen. It's a portrait screen, and we're just going to go through Windows installation. Let me double check if touchscreen works in case you don't have a mouse, and of course it does. So there's our 2 terabyte drive. Click New, Apply, OK, Format, OK, and click Next. Alright, it finished installing Windows, and it's just going through the initial setup. Alright, so it's done installing Windows, and we'll just go through the initial setup here. Alright, so we're going through the initial process, and it's asking me to connect to Wi-Fi. If you don't want to log into Windows, what you can do is turn on your phone's hotspot like what I have here. Let me connect to this real quick. And then once it does the updates, you would disconnect from it on the login page. I'll show you that in a second. And naming the device. All right, the moment you see this screen, turn off your hotspot. Some installation, you can also go into sign in options and create a local account. My specific one does not let me do that. So once you get to this, turn off your hotspot. All right, I turned off my hotspot. Click back. Who's going to use this device? Let's put any name you want. Password, whatever you want it to be. And this is all your preference. So whatever you want to put on here, it's up to you. And now it'll boot into Windows. All right, so we are now on Windows. And the first thing I'm going to do is right click on the desktop, display settings, and change this to landscape flipped. All right, we don't have anything installed in terms of the drivers. None of these buttons will actually work except for this, which is the keyboard, on-screen keyboard button. And The turbo button won't work because we don't have the AOKZOE app. Sound doesn't even work, doesn't see any drivers for that. So next thing I'm going to do is just connect real quick to the internet. Alright, so I connected to Wi-Fi. As much as you would want to, don't install anything from the Windows Update yet. What we're going to do first is go to the AOKZOE website and download the drivers. So go to AOKZOE.com, and this is the Chinese website. Go to Serve, scroll all the way down, or right here where it says firmware download, and go to AOKZOE A1 original driver, run setup as admin after extracting .bat. So just download that. It's gonna say it's unsafe. You can do it in a private browser if you want. I'm just gonna do it. This doesn't have any malware or anything, so it's fairly safe. While this is downloading, I'm gonna go to another website. Just go to 7-zip. You can also download WinRAR. I just prefer this one because it's just personal preference. You can open zip files, RAR files, all kinds of files. And of course, Windows Update, I believe, just installed the graphics drivers, and that's why it did that. 7-zip, change when these notifications appear. I normally turn that off. Yes. Open the installer again, install. And that is installed. Again, personal preference, I normally will just go to startup and turn off Edge, OneDrive, Teams, all of these. You don't have to close any of them out. The next time we restart, it just won't load it. It's actually done. So let's go to download this. Right click, open with, choose another app. And I right click the AOKZOE drivers, by the way. More apps. Look for another app on PC. Go to 7-zip. Go to 7ZFM. And there it is. So this, you can click extract. And you can extract it to this drive, this folder. There we go. Let me actually create a folder just for that. So I'm going to drag these two up in this one, open that up, and as it said on the website, run setup as admin. We will do that. Right click, run as administrator. A lot of these drivers will fail, by the way, but don't worry. We'll be able to get them. All right, once it closes, it is done. And now you can see sound card is still not installed. There's still no sound. So what we're going to do is same AOKZOE drivers folder, open that up. And I wish they had named this a bit better, but what you want to look for is the folder that says hdxrt.inf. Open that up, right click on the side, group by type, and just scroll down. You're going to be looking for an INF file, which is this one, setup information, hdxrt. Right click that, show more options, and install. And so, as soon as I do that, we will have sound, hopefully. And there it is. And just to test, all right, hopefully you can hear that. So we have our sound. What you want to do next is just go back, click up here, right click, copy the address here, and right click on the Windows button or the Start button, Device Manager. There's going to be a few on here that's not even installed. See that? So right click, Update Driver, Browse My Computer, paste, include subfolders, next, and it's going to install whatever it needs to. So that one was for audio, updates, oops, browse. So do that one at a time. Until you get rid of all of them. So that one was the SD card, micro SD card reader. And these are chipset drivers, it looks like, or I/O drivers. One last one. And there you go. Most of them were AMD drivers. Next, oh, it reinstalled the graphics driver, so it brought me back to this. So there it is, the rotation is, it actually installed the gyrometer. So we do this, it'll rotate in the right direction, and I locked the rotation, so now we won't have that issue. So don't install Windows updates yet. I'm gonna restart this real quick, so just to let the drivers kind of clear out. All right, restarted, and as you heard, we have audio. What I'm gonna do next is go back to the AOKZOE website, and I'm gonna download the Player Center here, 0.4.5. All right, open that. So it's a RAR file. You can open it up with 7-zip as well. So right click, more options. Oops, right click, more options, 7-zip, extract to that folder. You can group this by type. So here it is. You can get rid of the RAR file now. Here it is. Right click, run as admin, and it will install the Player Center. So you can choose all users get this, and That will allow us to use the turbo button as well as change the RGB here. As you can see, it's blank. We do need to install more files, but at least it works. So now go back here and look for actually one thing I'll show you real quick. If you don't have a keyboard attached, go here, start, settings, scroll down, go to the left, accessibility, scroll down, go to keyboard, scroll down, typing, touch keyboard, and check this box. Show the touch keyboard when there's no keyboard attached. And you can use this. It'll bring up the virtual keyboard. Back and search Adrenaline drivers. And click the second one there. Download software and drivers. And you can just go to the support site. You can do the auto detect for this one. Open, install. All right, as you can see, Adrenaline 23.3.1, and leave this blank. Click next, install, and install. So it's actually installing the Adrenaline and the chipset drivers. I'm actually surprised because normally it just installs the Adrenaline one if you choose the auto detect software. But good to know. Oops. Here it is. All right, once it's done, it'll ask to restart, and I would actually restart it now. Okay, once everything has restarted, you can test out the turbo button. If it doesn't work, that means the AOKZOE app has not loaded. Double click that. And this should be filled in with information now. Perfect. And to make the turbo button work, you right click the AOKZOE app right here, the bottom right. Click boot. And once the computer restarts again, it'll automatically load the app, and you can use this to have it show up on screen. So next, we're going to install this one, which is RTSS and HW info. And this will allow us to set auto TDP as well as limit the frame rate on the device, which is very, very helpful when it comes to preserving battery and performance. So I clicked that, and it'll actually just auto download. But as you can see, their website's download speed is really slow. So you can download both at the same time. Alright, so I'm gonna install HW info first. Launch. Click sensors only. Then go to settings. Minimize. Show sensors at startup. And click this one. Auto start. Okay. Click start. Do not check for updates and close that. Next, we're going to install our TSS. So just drag and unzip. These two I can delete now. Our TSS. Oops. It's this one. So just install this. And the AOKZOE app should detect both softwares have been installed. It's going to download some DirectX installation files or update files. All right. By the way, if the turbo button doesn't work like this, most likely you may need to turn off memory integrity in Windows. That may be blocking the app from loading and from the turbo button from working. Next is, so we just installed RTSS and DirectX. I actually have some files on this drive. Next is these two. So Visual C++. Just make sure you update those. That one's not needed. So Visual C++. There's a pack online that you can download. It usually will update what needs to be updated. And some software will need the Windows desktop runtime. Let's say if you use DS4 Windows to use your PlayStation controller on Windows, you may need this. Right now, I won't install it. And as you saw, I also have some benchmark software on this drive. But for the sake of this video, we'll stick to what we need to install. So going back to the AOKZOE app, this, you just scroll down to it and press Y. And as you can see on the left, frame rate limit, you can go to for AAA games like Spider-Man Remastered, it's good to limit it to 40. And then, for some indie games or games that are very easy to run, 60 frames per second works. So I turn that on and I enable TDP, and the device will limit the amount of total draw power based on the frame rate. So as soon as it hits 60 frames per second, it's going to limit the wattage that it uses, which is very useful for conserving battery power or battery. So for now, I'll disable that, and the Chinese character here means turned off. And this is useful for benchmarking. It'll show you your GPU, your CPU usage, your frame rate, and this is a custom one that they created just for this, and I actually like it. Let me install Unigen Heaven real quick so we can see that. All right, and let me boost up the TDP here. So make sure we have RTSS open as well. Actually, it's Riva. There we go. So now it's green. Now we know it's running. So this, we can also start with Windows. Actually, turn that off. Let me run this, press Y on this. Vertical. It's reloading it. Let me see if it took effect. Yep, there it is. But I want the horizontal one. So it's up there, but I'm using a really high resolution on here. So let me see. Let me drop this down to 800p. All right, it's up there, much better. But as you can see, it tells us the battery, TDP, frame rate. It's very hard to see, but it's up there. I'm going to close this. Close this. It's useful for games. And another thing is you can set your own TDP up here. And or of course you can do the frame rate limit and auto TDP. This middle one here sets the RGB lighting here, so press Y. Actually Y is to turn it off, A is to open up the menu here. I normally just pick flowing lights, it's cool. Alright, so once that's all done, let's leave that alone. Go here, go to show more options, go to adrenaline, skip, and click the cog wheel here. We want to make sure that our VRAM is 3 gigabytes, so it's correct. 3072 megabytes. There was a bug in one of the AMD drivers where it becomes 512, and I think the Ioneo 2 was affected by that. There's also I guess a hack to make sure to make this 4 gigabytes if you want to do that. I can save that for another video. And we can do here is go to display, and this is personal preference again, custom color enabled, and you can boost your saturation a little bit. So I can go to 110 and make the colors pop a bit. Go to graphics as well, and if you play games in borderless full screen mode, you want to turn on Radeon Super Resolution. So what that'll do is you can run your games at, let's say, 1280 by 800 borderless full screen, and that will upscale it to the full screen of 1200p. And you can set how sharp you want it to be. And so far, we're on track. We've done everything. Everything works now. You're free to do your Windows update, and as you can see, there's a ton on here. Thanks for watching, and I believe I got everything. We opened it up, changed the nvme, reinstalled Windows, reinstalled all the drivers, and of course everything is working as it should. And we can get on gaming now. Thanks again. Please like and subscribe if this was helpful. Thanks.